Hello, and welcome to episode 8 of the Southern Makes podcast. I am your host, Cassie, and I am recording from the greater Nashville area in Tennessee in the United States from a city called Murfreesboro. If you've ever heard of it, people refer to it as the borough. It's just a thing. I have lived here I thought I would give you guys a little bit of a rundown since we're on episode 8 now. We are still going strong. It's so exciting. I moved here about 10 years ago for college. I went to MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, and it's kind of cool because the very center of Tennessee is in Murfreesboro, right next to campus, so you can go there. There's like a little statue. That's pretty cool. I moved here from West Tennessee, from a tiny town called Lexington. It is near Jackson, about an hour and a half away from Memphis. So, if you are just joining me, you will not notice that anything is different with this setup, but if you have been here before, I have simply rotated the camera 90 degrees. Don't know why I didn't think to do that before. This is a significantly cuter setup than I had before, so I think this will be my new podcast area. Plus, I have my crafting table set up in front of me so I can actually grab projects instead of reaching down. I'll probably still drop things and reach down, let's be real, but for now, this will do. Oh, and also, sorry, that's me shaking the table. Oh, now I get what everybody says when they say, oh, sorry, shaking the table. They actually have a table in front of them. Okay, so today is the first time that I'm recording baby free. So the baby is still in the house, but Kyle, my husband, he took today off. It is the day after Thanksgiving here in the States, so he had Wednesday off, but Wednesday and Thursday off for Thanksgiving, but we cooked, we host Thanksgiving, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end because as I was saying, I have a little bit more time now, so hopefully I can take my time and I'll include a personal section this time. Really exciting. Probably still will talk 90 miles a minute, but we'll see. So, I didn't mention this is a crafty podcast where I talk about my all my crafts really, but primarily crochet, knitting, some cross stitch, and eventually fiber and yarn dyeing eventually. And I talk about it a little bit now, but I haven't done anything on like a super big scale. So I hope that you enjoy, and thanks for tuning in. Let's just jump right into my smallest whip. Actually, let's talk about sweaters first. I, like most of the knitting community, am on a huge sweater kick. It's like the weather changed and suddenly it was sweaters or nothing. So, I mean, I'm not immune. Here I am. I'll go ahead and show you. And it is on super small needles. So I should have taken it off the needles, but there are so many stitches. This is the Winter Me sweater by Winterludes on Ravelry. It is a fingering weight colorwork sweater. I'm holding it double with mohair for the colorwork. So you can kind of see, I've split for the sleeves right here. You can see. And right now I am working on the body. So first let me tell you about the yarn. I'm using, and this isn't the actual color of the pink, but actually I'm using Drops Flora that I got from Wool Warehouse. I ordered it online from the UK. It is a 65% wool and 35% alpaca blend. That's what happens when you only record every 2 weeks. And these come in 50-gram balls. So this is actually the color of the main body. And I'm not holding that double. So that is that. And I'm loving the way that it's working up. And I have all of the same dye lot. So far I have only gone through 2 balls one ball of the gray color. And what I'm doing is this top colorwork section is pink, held like a light pink, held together with a strand of mohair. That all the pink is also Drops Flora, and then the mohair is Drops Kid Silk mohair. So I'm doing that, and then that is a whole colorwork, two colorwork charts here. And then this main colorwork part here is white Drops Flora, held together with that same pink mohair. Hopefully that is focusing. So you can see it's got a big halo and it is so squishy. And then this bottom colorwork chart I swapped back to the pink, held together with the pink mohair, and the rest of the sweater without mohair. So I'll show you what I can of my floats, because I have my stoppers here and I just have the sleeves held on some waste yarn. So here are my floats. Not bad, not bad, because with this chart there you don't go more than 5 stitches without having to change colors. Maybe on like this part on top of that, but still I think it's only 4. So there's really nowhere where you need to catch your floats ish. And this is a free pattern, so that's really exciting and I absolutely adore it. I want this won't be all over colorwork, but I want one an all over colorwork sweater, just because I mean the process of knitting an all over colorwork sweater is so fun, and I think that I am more of a process. I love to have the product, of course, but I love the process of the knit. So if I didn't have to just knit stockinette all the way down, I think that I would actually like churn out sweaters like crazy. But this pattern is interesting because, and not that I have knit a crazy amount of sweaters, but most of the sweaters that I have knit, I like the top down style. So you start at the top, you knit the ribbing or whatever collar that there is, and then you do short rows to shape the back, because you want, a little bit of kind of where the back either goes up or down, like up your neck more or down a little bit. So you have a difference in hem at the bottom, but this one didn't have any of that. There were some increases, obviously, throughout the color work, but the actual short rows came at the bottom a couple of rows after you finish with this color work chart. So the pattern has you, and I don't know if I'm just misunderstanding, I do German short rows. So this pattern, I think, had it written in for Japanese short rows, and that was a little confusing. And she did say, I think in the pattern, do your favorite short row method. So at least she gave you a heads up that we were doing short rows. But if I hadn't have known that that is what we were doing from knitting sweaters before, then I kind of would have been confused. So just keep that in mind if you're kind of a beginner sweater knitter, because it is a little bit confusing. And it's the first time, normally when you do short rows, you go out all the way to encompass your whole short rows, and then slowly you come in until you're done with your short rows, and then you go around. This one is the opposite as far as I understood, unless I was misunderstanding, because she had instructions for the Japanese short rows, but you start small and then you keep doing them. But it was a learning experience for sure, but it also made me realize that I should mark where my short rows are, and I don't have any of those tiny stitch markers that kind of don't cause gaps in your work, and I'll talk about that when I talk about one of my other whips. But so I just used some scrap yarn and wrapped it around the stitch that I wrapped. That way whenever you're going back around, you know where to pick up, because with my Ingalls sweater, I can tell that I have missed some of the wraps on that one, and it kind of bothers me. So I don't want to miss any wraps with this one. And honestly, I'm obsessed with this sweater. I know everybody always says, oh, I'll make another one. I'll definitely knit this again. And, they finish and it's never to be seen again. I have enjoyed this so much. And I do think it has to do with the mohair. So maybe before I say I'll knit this particular sweater again, I will knit another sweater held with mohair because I just love it. Like if you could squish this, you can see it's like bouncy. It's thick because mohair is lace weight. So really it's only held double, and then there's like a little bit extra with the lace weight yarn, but it is just so squishy and so nice. And this Drops Flora, some people are really particular about scratchiness, but it does have that alpaca content in it. So I think it's soft and it doesn't bother. I don't think that it would be hard to wear even if you are a little bit sensitive. So I'm really enjoying that, and I really like this color. It's almost like a heathered charcoal gray black. I mean, it's coming up a little bit more gray on the camera. I think it's a little darker than that, but it is kind of heathered, and it goes really, really well with a lighter color like this. That's the back. I've been showing you the back the whole time. It's probably because it's all bunched up on my needles. And I was knitting this on my 3.5 ChiaoGoo circular needles, and I'm on a 40-inch cable for this one. But after the color work and all, I wanted to swap back down, or no. You know what I wanted to do? I wanted to cast on something else on the ChiaoGoos. So I moved them back to my short 16-inch, and it has really stalled me out because the ChiaoGoos were so enjoyable, and now moving it back to these and them being only 16 inches has become a problem. So I think that I will move them back to my ChiaoGoos and keep working on this after I finish the sweater that I'm about to show you. So yeah, that is that. And I did a gauge swatch for this with the mohair, and I got gauge. I'm making the biggest size. I believe there's only 3 sizes, and the biggest size might be, it's in the high 40 centimeter bust range. I'm a 42, so I like big cozy sweaters right now, so I just mostly knit the size that gives me like 5 to 8 inches of positive ease, no matter what the pattern is. But I just wanted to do a gauge swatch with the mohair to see how much that would influence my gauge. And honestly, I did one with mohair and one without. It was like a 1.5 stitch difference, which can make a big difference. I understand that, but it wasn't crazy like I thought it would be. So yeah, I got gauge. I'm knitting the largest size, 3.5 needles with drops, and I'm really enjoying that one. So the next whip that I have is the Grace cardigan by Jane Richmond Designs. So I'll just show it to you real quick as best. So this is it. And I have it is a gloomy day here today, so there's not much sun outside, so I have the overhead light on and the illumination turned on my phone, so hopefully that's not too annoying. I know everybody talks about that. So here it is. What it is, I will have put a picture up on the side of the screen. It's a super pretty lace designed open front, obviously, cardigan, and the back has a lace panel, so you can kind of see it. It's really pretty. I first saw it on a podcast, and you can see the raglan shaping. I first saw it on a podcast, and when it was held up, I immediately went to Ravelry and queued it up, and then shortly after that decided I was going to cast it on, even though I don't have enough yarn in this color. So I'm using Drops Alpaca, which I'm super aware doesn't have enough memory for a sweater. It's 100% alpaca. These are 50-gram balls, and there's only 183 yards in one of these guys. So what I'm doing, this is reversed. I have a lot of whips, so sometimes my head is like, so what I'm doing is knitting this first lace. The top is lace, and then the bottom is just kind of stockinette. As far as I can see, I have not read ahead. So this isn't the color obviously, but it's a dusty pink, and I'm doing the lace out of this Drops Flora, which has wool content, and I have 3 balls of that. So I'm going to do the whole lace panel in the this color, like it is. this. And then I'm going to fade in, so I'm going to stripe the last ball of the flora, and then I'm going to fade in this alpaca because these two are very similar. Whoa, they look different on the camera. This looks more purple. In person, this one does look darker, but it doesn't quite look as purple, but I think it'll be a really pretty fade, and it will help me use up all of this yarn that I bought. So I'm going to do that, and I have this on my 3.5 millimeter 40-inch ChiaoGoo circular needles, and this will be frogged. Dun, dun, dun. Because it's my first time knitting a cardigan. It's only like my fourth sweater type garment project, like in general. So I didn't quite understand the construction. The pattern is nuts. I mean, it's a good pattern, but it is crazy. There's a schematic, there's charts. That is really nice. There's written instructions and charts, but the way the pattern is written, there's blanks, so it says knit X, blah, 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 whatever, and then there's blanks, and you refer down to the chart correlating to your size, and you write in how many stitches that there should be for each round. So you really have to make a commitment, and I just kind of didn't understand like what we were doing at the very beginning. I didn't understand what section we were on and all. So this is going to be the little front part. And for the most part, everything is kind of lining up and everything is okay. I think that I could keep going and figure it out as I go because everything is pretty symmetrical, honestly. But I decided that because it's so pretty, I want this to be a nice cardigan, like one of my nicer items that I can wear when I'm trying to be a little bit more fancy. So I kind of just want it to be really put together. And I'm super relaxed about most of my other garments that I crochet and knit. So I just kind of want this one to be really, really nice. So I'm going to keep it same yarn, same needles, same everything, but I'm going to rip it back and start again because this is only a couple of days of knitting. A couple of nights, really, a couple of hours, maybe like 4 or 5 hours. So really it's not that bad. And the only thing about this is that I kind of wish I knew how to steek, or I wish I would learn real quick. But because this is my first cardigan, there's the back. So you're working flat, obviously. This isn't joined, so there is a lot of purling. And I hate purling. Changes my tension. Even Kyle commented that this panel is way tighter than this panel. And I was like, yeah, it's my tension because you knit one way and then you purl the next. So I wish that when you steek, if you're not familiar, you can knit in the round. So basically you never have to purl unless you're doing short rows or something. And then you steek it. So you add a reinforcement where you want it to separate and then you cut it. So you're able to just knit in the round. So that's really convenient. And this is wool, so I could do a crocheted steek with it. No sewing needed. But yeah, since it's my first one and I'm kind of already confused and a little intimidated by this, I decided that I'm not going to do that for my first one. But after this, I think that I will not do. It's kind of like my bottom up situation. I will never, unless I'm just obsessed with the pattern, I don't think I'm going to do any more bottom up sweaters. So speaking of bottom up sweaters, let's talk about the Weekender. So this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and I have it on the shortest needles in existence, of course, because I'm a professional. I'm not. Okay, so this is a pattern I'm sure that you've seen about it. It's everywhere because it's such a wearable sweater. It's a bottom up worsted weight sweater with this detail running up the center and back seams with a ribbed kind of feature on the sleeves and neckline. So it's really simple. If you've watched any of my other podcasts, you'll have known that I've knit this already, minus the sleeves, but it was way too small for me. So I started again and in a size 5, and I am knitting this on it calls for smaller needles for the ribbing. And then these are size 5.5 circulars. And they're like a 22 inch or something. So they're a little too small for this size. But you knit it in reverse stockinette. So the other side is stockinette. And you just go round and round and round and round until you get to your shoulder. So this has been really slow going. I don't work on this all the time. I kind of work on it whenever I need a bigger, more mindless knitting project. So yeah, it's just something that I'm kind of working on in the background. And the yarn that I'm using, my cake looks terrible because Charlotte got a hold of it, is Oki Wheat by Yarn Bee. You can just get it at Hobby Lobby. It is mostly acrylic, but it's got hemp content in it. So I think it's just acrylic and hemp for that one. So that is that. And the next project that I have, and my biggest project right now, is the Ochiello sweater by Handmade Closet. So, da, 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 da. Here it is. So, this pattern has been amazing. I love it. I love the color work. I am now loving my color choices. So let's talk about the yarn first. This blue color is a hand-dyed yarn. So as far as I know, and I've said before, I've worked with 2 hand-dyed yarns before in my life, and one was a Malabrigo, so I don't know if we consider that hand-dyed. I mean, it is, but it's more commercial. And then the other was a hand-dyed that I picked up at a local yarn store in Murfreesboro, but that has since closed. They were called the Naughty Knitter. I love that. They've since closed, so I'm not sure what that yarn was. It was a orange color, but I definitely know it was an indie dyed. I remember them telling me, and the price tag told me. Anyway, so this is the first hand-dyed yarn that I can recall actually using. It is Bay Horse Yarns by Pam or Pamela. It is the Shad Belly colorway on her pony sock base, and she has since discontinued this base. It's a single ply, and I'm sorry, my daughter has gotten a hold of this. Here's her logo. This is not the colorway. She really did a number on this. This is not the colorway, but just so you can see her full label. It's a 100% superwash merino single ply, and you can really tell it too. So I absolutely love it. I love the color. So this is nothing bad to say. And I've never worked with this about her or her business or her yarn, and I've never worked with a single ply before. And I think that is where it's an experience coming through. But when I was winding it into a cake from the hank, I lost, I don't know, it was a lot, like a third or a fourth of the whole hank to tangles, and it was like already starting to felt and pill together, and so I just cut it there, and I've just been using it however I can since, and I've had to cut a couple spots out that were like felty and pilly. Anyway, and I know that you're not really, I mean, you can do anything you want, obviously, but that single ply is not the most hard wearing yarn, so like you wouldn't use it for socks, for example. And a lot of people don't use it for sweaters. And people have mixed results. Like I was just watching a podcast the other day, and somebody commented on a sweater, and she said, oh yes, it's single ply, and I haven't had to depill it, and it's a year old. And you know, so everybody has different experiences. It depends on how hard you wear your sweaters, how you take care of them, how you wash them, all kinds of things. So I think that this will be okay for me because I'm not super hard wearing on my sweaters. So anyway, I think it's okay, and I think it was user error on the winding out of the hank. When I got it, it was so beautiful, and I still love it. If you want to see, I love it. And I love this color. It's a really pretty, almost tonal navy. It's really pretty. And then this yellow is an acrylic viscose something Yarn Bee from Hobby Lobby. And I think I explained it. It's almost like the DMC thread that you get, for cross stitch and embroidery and stuff like that. Like you can see all of the strands, so it's plied technically, but it's almost like you could pull it apart like that DMC thread, and it's called Spiness. So I assume that's, a play on like hand spun, I assume. Yes. So the next color, this gray, is Drops Flora. So it's the 65%, let's see, was it? Yes, 65% wool and 35% alpaca. And that's just the lighter gray. I don't think they have color names. So it is a paid pattern on Ravelry by Handmaid's Closet. And then there's color work on the sleeve. And you were supposed to do an I-cord bind off, but I just wanted to experiment. I've never not done ribbing on a sleeve, so I just wanted to experiment and see what it would be like without the I-cord bind off, and I don't like it, obviously. You can see the floats. I haven't cleaned up any edges. You can see the floats, but the thing is that I'm running so low on this blue. I was going to, what the pattern calls for, obviously these are not full-length sleeves. So the pattern calls for you to knit, I think it's like 11 inches, and then do your color work, and then do several more inches in your contrasting color. So mine would be the blue, and then do your I-cord bind off. So it's supposed to be full-length sleeves, but I don't want full-length sleeves. I wash a lot of bottles and do a lot of different things where I'm always rolling up my sleeves anyway. So for this one, I was just going to do quarter length as I normally do. So, but I'm running low on my blue. So I started on my next sleeve, and I am doing these on 4-inch DPNs. So I'm going to get to the color work. I'm going to do the color work, see how much of the shad belly, the blue that I have left over, and then come back over here and do as much as I can and kind of make them even. And then I think I'm going to do some 2x2 ribbing in the gray. I might do the yellow. I doubt it because I don't love the feel of the yellow, and I really love the woolly of this gray. So I think I'm going to come back and do, I really don't think I'll have enough blue to do the ribbing in blue. So I'll come back and do the ribbing in gray for that. And this is too short for me. I tried it on just to see where the sleeve hit me, to see how much ribbing I wanted to do, how many inches, and it's too short for me. So I am going to have to rip out the ribbing down here and knit a little bit more on the body, which is no big deal. The only reason I am kind of irritated at it is because I was knitting in this. It calls for 3.75 millimeter needles, so I was knitting it on my 3.75 40-inch ChiaoGoo. The red lace needles that are really sharp and super fun to work with. And then when I got to the ribbing, I moved it down to some 3 millimeter, I got them from a warehouse, so they're not, I don't know, I posted on my Instagram stories. They're the dullest needles in the history of mankind. They're flat on the top. So it was a whole struggle and a half to do this ribbing. So that's the only reason I'm like, I have to rip it out and do it again. But since it's going to take me a little bit of time to finish knitting the body, I might order some 3 millimeter ChiaoGoos because I am obsessed with those needles. I love them so much. And one modification that I have done with this pattern is I was going to magic loop the sleeves, and I'm practicing my picking up method for sleeves, so I'll have to darn that little guy close, but that's okay, totally fine. I was doing magic loop with the 3.75 needles and really didn't like it. I don't know if I just don't like magic loop or I don't know. So I moved them over to my DPNs, but my little set that I got of Knit Picks DPNs only go up to a 3.5. So I got these off Amazon. They were super affordable. The 4-inch ones were big difference from the 6-inch ones, and I make do. I think I would do better with the 6-inch, but I make do with these. So they start at 2 millimeter, a US 0, and go up to 3.5 millimeter, a US 4. So because I have smaller-ish arms in comparison to like my bust area, I thought that that would be fine, and I tried it on, and there is actually some ease still, even with the 3.5 millimeter difference in the sleeves. So I'm just going around and around, and I have an inch and a half or so before I start the color work. So I'm definitely going to do that tonight. I'm really excited. But this is the part I have been looking the most forward to in this podcast. I realize that I twist my stitches. So if you've watched any of my podcasts before, you'll know that I'm a crocheter. I've been crocheting for 10-ish years maybe, and only knitting seriously for like the last couple of months. Like I've knit before, but not in the capacity that I'm knitting now, and I'm trying to get my capital K knitter badge. So yeah, not like, so I just don't know. I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I'm going, teaching myself basically. So I was wondering the other night why all of my knit garments kind of look braided. I was just wondering. So I was sitting there knitting along, la la la, and then wondering why it looks braided. You see that? So I Googled it, as you do. And I came back with that I twist my knit stitches. So there's a way, if you look up, Very Pink Knits has a good tutorial on how to untwist your stitches. It's basically where you have your stitch on your needle and your leg of your stitch is going the wrong way. So this is the wrong way, and then that's the right way. It's probably showing up wrong. One way is right and then one way is wrong, and mine was the wrong way. So there's a way you can fix it. You can just knit through the back loop and that'll untwist your stitch. But I was doing that, and I went all the way around and untwisted my stitches. And then I realized that they were still twisted. So I was like, what is going on? So it's the way that I'm holding. I knit continentally, but it's the way that I'm wrapping the yarn around my needle. So I'm wrapping it over the top like that when you're supposed to like scoop, like wrap it under, if you will, like scoop it. So when I'm doing that, I'm wrapping the stitch the wrong way. So I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to redo how I knit completely. So I've marked it here with a little stitch marker. So I knit the correct way for a couple of rounds because who cares? The sweater's just for me. Who cares? Oh, and my fingers. So you can really tell the difference. My camera is not the best. You can really tell the difference there. Isn't that interesting? I think that is so interesting. And I really love the way this looks. I love this, but I really like this. So this is more what you see whenever, but like when everybody else is showing you their knitwear. How crazy is that? So I went back to my twisted, comfy way after that. After I realized it was such a stark difference, I didn't expect it to be that stark. So I just went back to my normal twisted ways, and I'll finish the sweater out twisted. And then since I'm starting over on my Grace cardigan, I will knit that in the correct way and see the difference. So that's really exciting, and I'll have to keep knitting incorrectly on my weekender and on my winter me. So yeah, I don't mind. I like the look, but I have always wondered why it looks that way, and now I know. And it blew my mind. So that is really, really, really interesting. And yeah, I'm excited to do another sweater and see how it looks correctly knitted, is what I'm saying. Sorry, I had to cut. I had to go make sure that Kyle was still okay with Charlotte. I heard her get a little fussy. She's gone down to just 2 naps a day now, so she goes a really long stretch before bedtime, and she gets pretty fussy during that stretch. I'm hoping that that evens out soon. So the next little section that I want to talk about is just some dream knitting that I already have the yarn for and everything. So this is my most prized possession that I think I'm thinking about recaking. This is my most prized possession on this earth. This is hand-dyed yarn from Bay Horse Yarns, the same company that dyed the shad belly on her pony sock base. This is actually it's her show horse sock in the Barnwood colorway. There's her label again. She is on Instagram and Facebook and Ravelry, and she's got her own website, bayhorseyarn.com, hand-dyed in Northern California. This is a 85% extra fine superwash merino, and it's got the micron. It's 19.5 micron, and then 15% nylon. You get 437 yards in this guy and 100 grams. So I have 2 of these. There's the other one. This one is quite a bit messier. So I will be doing helical knitting with these. They're a little bit different, obviously, with hand-dyed yarn. It is just a base color, like ecru beige with speckles and variegation of blue, orange, red, and a lot of brown. So this isn't something that I thought I would really go for, but I saw it when I was scrolling Instagram one day, and honestly, I had to have it. Like, I was just obsessed. So it was my first real indie dyed yarn purchase that I have ever made, and I bought it in mine for the Branches and Buds sweater, and then realized that I didn't have enough yardage to make that. So what I'm going to make with it, I think, is the Errata sweater by Knit Love Wool. But I was scrolling Instagram last night, and coincidentally, this pattern is also by Knit Love Wool, and it is the Birch Feather sweater. It is gorgeous. Go and look up the hashtag. I'll put it on the screen of this sweater. I think it's just in testing, and I believe when I was looking through the hashtag that one of the testers said it's supposed to release in December. So December 1st is on Sunday, so that's not that far away. So I think that maybe I have a lot of other whips on the needles, even though I'm itching to cast that on so badly. I think that I'll wait and see if I can somehow get enough yardage out of that yarn to make that sweater, because it is gorgeous. I am going to pair it with this Drops Alpaca in this blue, pretty dusty blue color, and I don't have it with me, but it's like a spring green. So I think that those two will match pretty well with that, because I was going to match it with, I don't know, I had a couple of ideas in mind, but they really don't go with it. It's kind of hard to match with that because it's so light and kind of a delicate color. It just doesn't everything kind of overpowers it a little bit. So it would be really pretty in a no frills without the mohair maybe. That would be so pretty, but that requires a lot of yardage, so I would have to order more. I am thinking about ordering one more ball of it, honestly, and then just making whatever I want to make because I love it so much, but it's just not in my budget. So I'm trying to make something out of the 2 that I have, and I have a lot of this, so I might do that, and then I'll have to modify the pattern. Probably it's a colorwork pattern with big pieces of colorwork. Sorry, I have my elbow on my yarn winder. So yeah, we'll see. But that is my dream knitting. So for the last little bit, I just want to quickly do a personal chat section since I haven't gotten to do one before. I wanted to show you guys this quilt that my mother-in-law, so Kyle's mom, made for Charlotte. It is a reindeer quilt, and it's got Santa on there, and all of the little reindeers are showing their little personalities. I think my favorite is Cupid. And then the back is just this cute polka dot fabric. So she's quilted this herself. She is a really good sewer, and she's done a lot of embroidery. She's got an embroidery machine for Charlotte so far. There's Comet. Oh, look at him. So cute. So I wanted to show you guys that. I loved it so much. She brought it over yesterday whenever we were doing Thanksgiving dinner. So that is what we've really been up to. We've been looking forward to it so much. It was mine and Kyle's fourth Thanksgiving together, and first with a baby. And we always cook here at our house, and we have my mom and brother over, and then we have his mom and dad come over. So it's just the six of us, pretty low key, but we cook a lot of food. We love it. We love leftovers. So we did a lot on Wednesday, and then woke up early and we did a turkey this year. Normally we do ham, but I wanted to be like traditional starting out Charlotte's first Thanksgiving, and the turkey turned out really well. So I think we'll keep doing that. It was really good, and it has been really good left over as well. But Kyle's dad he's got a smoker, and he smoked a ham and brought it over anyway because he's a ham guy and he just has to have what he likes. But I'm not mad at it because I'm also a ham girl, so yeah, not mad at that at all. So what I did was I made a little vlog of our Thanksgiving. So us going shopping. We took Charlotte for her first Thanksgiving shopping trip on last Saturday. And I wanted to it was like a little practice run. I'm doing Vlogmas, which starts on Sunday. So it was like a little practice run for that, and I'm going to edit all those clips together and then put them at the end of this video, as long as this video is not a million years long. But I don't think that it is, because I didn't have as much to talk about this week. It's been a busy couple of weeks. So yeah, I will put that at the end of the video if you want to take a look at it. It's pretty cute. It's a lot of Charlotte, because you're not getting your Charlotte fix in the actual podcast. So if you want to stick around and look at that, please feel free. If you want to follow me on any social media, I am on Instagram and Ravelry. My Instagram is Southern Makes Co. And then Ravelry is just Southern Makes. And then obviously you found me on YouTube. And if I have time, I have a blog that I'll link to that I would do show notes for this podcast on, but I haven't been having the time lately. So what I've been doing is I keep my Ravelry project page pretty updated. So if you have any questions about any of the projects, or just want to chat, leave a comment, or you can DM me, whatever you want to do, and I'll answer your questions. And I think that's pretty much it. And I'll put every link to my social media down in the description box below. And I think I said this, but I'll put the pattern names on the screen and a picture of the pattern. So that way, at least you'll have the name here of the patterns that I talked about, and an example picture, because I'm not super far along on most things. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a super crafty end of your November and start of your December. And I'm really excited to get some sweaters off the needles and then cast on more sweaters. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hey guys, we are en route to do our Thanksgiving shopping with Kyle and Charlie. You can kind of see her in the mirror. Oh, she's sleeping. So we're gonna go and pick up all of our stuff that we need for Thanksgiving, and I thought that I would bring you guys along. And this is the first time that I'm wearing my Eagle sweater by Caitlin Hunter of Boylan Knitworks out into public, not caring about the color blocking one single bit. So enjoy this little vlog. It's gonna be super quick, and I'll put us shopping and some dry You look so stylish. It's Thanksgiving morning, and I woke up naturally early and got the turkey out, and now we're just making the herb butter, and pineapple is running sausage balls. Our favorite is in egg, and both of us, we will take this, and we will finish prepping, and then get ready and set the table and get ready for everybody to come over and eat. We're really excited. Here's my mom. Kyle's doing his traditional writing of the menu. Here's our table. Don't have placemats. Hi, Charlie. Hi. Hi, Mimi.